Guest today that I know you'll really enjoy getting to know. His name is Tony Swisher, and he's going to talk about when we show up, give God the glory. So stay tuned and listen to Tony share that message with you today. First, we'd love to have you listen to a word from our great sponsor, Holy Hydrogen. If you're looking for optimal health, hydrogen is the way to go. So listen into this commercial right now and a word for our sponsor, and we hope this will help you attain amazing health in this 2022 season. Thanks for joining the Connection Show.
Hydrogen is used by health professionals as a powerful antioxidant and the number one tool to fight inflammation. Studies show therapeutic potential in cancer, diabetes, digestive, and heart issues, and essentially every organ and system in the body. This is not medical advice, because I'm not your doctor, but if you have any health concerns, I strongly recommend that you learn more about hydrogen. Get educated at holyhydrogen.com and order the best hydrogen generator known to man. Use code BRAVEHEART for $100 off your order. Because hydrogen is the smallest molecule in existence, it can pass through the cell membrane and even the blood-brain barrier to clear out inflammation and free radical damage where other antioxidants just can't get to. Visit holyhydrogen.com to see the latest technology that elevates your immune system and fights inflammation. Search their research library to see if hydrogen has a track record for helping a health concern you're dealing with. Make sure to use code BRAVEHEART for $100 off your order. Remember, holyhydrogen.com.
The Connection Show. Inspiring hope, health, healing, connecting the dots of your story and transforming your life. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds.
The Connection Show, inspiring hope, health, and healing. Sponsored by Braveheart Workshops, live with Jill Reynolds. And joining me today is Tony Swisher. Welcome, Tony, to the show.
Thank you, Jill, for having me on.
Well, I would love it, Tony, if you could share with the audience your story about connecting the dots in your life, the good, the bad, and the ugly, starting back when you were a little boy and taking us on the journey of your life to who you are today and how your life has been transformed. So hopefully, as people hear your story, they will be transformed as well. So could you take us on that journey to your little boy growing up?
Yes, so I grew up in Southwest Michigan, actually on one of the thousands of lakes in Michigan. And I grew up, my parents divorced when I was 2. So I grew up with a single mom, youngest of 3. But my mom was very adamant about getting us to church 4 times a week. So that's Sunday morning, Sunday night, Wednesday nights, and then Thursday for a youth program called Awana, those of you who are familiar with it. Anyway, at the age of 5, after Sunday school one day, I heard the gospel message presented. And after church, I asked my mom about it, and she led me to Christ that day. And I was the good child growing up. I only ever did a couple of deviant things. But a couple years after that, we were at one of my cousin's house, and I was actually molested by my cousin. Mm-hmm. And for a while, I just kind of like shoved it to the back of my memory, and fairly uneventful. I had couple of altercations with some friends, got into a couple of fights, but nothing major. Like I said, I was the good kid. So anyway, fast forward to middle school, we moved out of the house at the lake, partially due to financial reasons. Otherwise, my mom also wanted me to get out of that neighborhood because of the reputation my brothers had. And then so we moved, completely lost all contact with friends other than the occasional bike ride 5 miles away. That neighborhood And then in high school is when I started dating. End of 8th grade, started dating the woman who would become my wife, actually. And senior year, we're talking on the phone, and this conversation comes up about what happened to me when I was younger. And a lot of tears, a lot of just processing what had happened because I never fully processed it. And when I graduated high school, I had aspirations of becoming a band director, of all things, marching band, all 4 years, stuff like that. And so my wife and I both went to the same college. We were still just dating at the time, went to the same college. She ended up changing her major because she was also going for music ed, and decided we don't want to compete for the same jobs. It not very healthy, if you will. But then second year into the music education program, the college I was going to dropped all of my classes, all because I still owed like $36. Mm-hmm. And at the time, I was just married to my high school sweetheart. And so I'm like, you know what? It's probably best that I just work, focus on my wife and house stuff. And so I ended up working at a casino, actually, of all places, going to church and then trying to justify working at a casino by me being a light in the darkness, which in my mind I was, because I was having these conversations that a lot of my coworkers wouldn't have had, just because of the nature of the business. And then wow, I am jumping around a lot. I apologize.
No, you're doing fine. Yep.
So anyway, I'm going to backtrack a little bit back to senior year of high school. So the church I was going to at the time, the summer prior to my senior year, we went to youth camp down in Pensacola, Florida, where God put a calling on my life to be a preacher. And this was shortly after, I think it was the summer after the oil spill in the Gulf of Mexico that was largely publicized, that no names will be mentioned. And so anyway, we went swimming in the Gulf of Mexico, and it was cleaned up, but you could still see oil on the beaches and stuff like that. And mentally, I knew that when you get caught in the undertow, you're supposed to swim diagonal to shore to get out of it. But needless to say, I about drowned in the Gulf of Mexico right after I got called to be a preacher, right after I got called to preach. And so I'm like, well, that's how I know it was God, because there was an attempt on my life after that. And then the following summer, we did a missions trip to Jamaica to help them to help one of the churches with a building project. And we also went around witnessing to people. And something I had observed was that a lot of people knew a lot about God, but they didn't necessarily know God. Mm-hmm. And so we use that to communicate to people and tell them. And during that time, my wife was at a youth camp where she ended up speaking in tongues for the first time. Mm-hmm. And the church I was a part of at the time was a cessationist church. So they didn't believe that those giftings, like speaking in tongues, healing, prophecy, they didn't believe any of that was for today. And so that's what I grew up in, which was an independent Baptist church, and she was Assembly of God. And so there was this wildly different dynamic. But when I got back from that missions trip and she got back from camp, we talked about it and we about broke up over it. But it started me to dive into scripture for myself and learn what the Bible actually teaches. And and then fast forward to us being married and whatnot. And like now we both go to a church that is operating in those giftings, and we're using those gifts to reach the lost, to reach primarily the call on our church is the addicted, because those are the people that the church all too often says are too far gone. Mm-hmm. And like, so that's our goal, is to reach those people. But those, I hate to say those people because it sounds so cliche, but people who are trapped in addiction and on the street, they've seen what phony church and phony community look like.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's why I think it's so important for the audience to understand that when Jesus walked the face of the earth, he shared accounts, stories, and parables so lives could be transformed. He didn't go out into the hillsides and the mountains and the valleys and do Bible studies. You know, he went out and he shared stories, accounts, and parables for transformation. And I think many of us miss the mark with that. And so we think that that's the way to connect. But true connection with Jesus was getting close and personal alongside of others, the lost, the hurting, those who were troubled. And so I think we as a church community, I think you'll agree, Tony, we need to go back to more biblical principles of connecting with the lost through accounts, parables, and stories so that their lives could be transformed by seeing the renewing of our minds.
Well, and that's kind of what led to the podcast I'm now hosting called The Gospel Effect, was that like all testimony means is do it again. Because if God can do something in one person's life, he can and will do it for anybody. And with that testimony, part of what overcomes is, yes, the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. And so, like, people don't want to hear or just hear God loves you, or they don't want to hear an argument about how it makes more sense that there is a God versus random chance. People have heard those arguments, and for the most part, those arguments aren't getting people into the kingdom. Mm-hmm. That's why the Apostle Paul says that he did not come with words of human wisdom, but of demonstration and power, because you can deny teaching all day long, but when someone gets up out of a wheelchair, you can't deny that.
Well, and in the days of, I'll just go back, in the days of Alcoholics Anonymous, you know, when the founders of AA really got it, is when the one alcoholic would go into the insane asylum and share their story of alcoholism with an addict still struggling in the insane asylum. And by sharing story and connecting, it gave that person strength. And so when we're willing to share our stories of hope, health, and healing in our lives with those still struggling, connection takes place. And then you can go to a place eventually of leading that person into a saving relationship with Jesus Christ. If you go straight to, you know, hey, you're a sinner and needed a savior, and, you know, give your life to Jesus, they're going to look at you, that addict, and go, what are you talking about? You know? And so I think you have to meet them in story for healing to take place, because, you know, that's what Jesus did. He knew how to connect with story.
Yeah, and he was a phenomenal storyteller at that. And like with my testimony, like it took me connecting with my wife to heal from the trauma of my past. Because my wife was very key and instrumental to healing from that.
Now, did you ever go back and share with your family members what happened? And was there ever a place that you could go back and discuss it with the cousin who had abused you?
So, unfortunately not. They moved away. And I had learned that you don't necessarily need to, even though it will help, you don't necessarily need to talk to the person to forgive the person. But it's when you hold on to that forgiveness, that bitterness starts to rise, and then you can fake the funk all you want, but out of the heart will proceed. Oh, crap. I just had the verse, but pretty much out of the heart will proceed how your mind is. And so, like, what's in our heart is what will speak. And so even if I try talking the talk, I'm just lying to myself if I haven't truly forgiven. And without forgiveness, that kind of trauma can't be healed.
Did you ever go back and tell your mother, though, or your family members?
I think they found out through a podcast episode, now that I think about it.
Yeah, but you never sat down and discussed it with them?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I think that's important because there can be a lot of healing that takes place there versus just hearing it on a podcast. So, I think there's a lot of work that goes into that healing, and and the family secrets, when the enemy wants us to hide behind our family secrets, because he just does. He wants us to have separation and yes, I'm 110% in agreement with you about the forgiveness. But sometimes it's important, unless it will injure you or the other person. Sometimes it is good to connect with that abuser if you can find them and say, hey, I recall this happening in my childhood and that was not acceptable. I want you to know I have forgiven you, but I want you to know I definitely feel that it's important for you to know that I remember it happened and it took me many years, but I'm at the place now where I can forgive you. And you may come to find out, sometimes I've had this happen, you may come to find out that the person who abused you may have come to Christ by now too, and that's actually a gift when you do talk to them, or it breaks their denial. But just something to think about. So today now, you're married how long to your wife?
9 years.
Mm-hmm.
High school sweetheart, defied all odds, which is only by the grace of God, because I know if the Lord wasn't working on me, our marriage would not have worked out.
Yeah.
But anyway, after I left working the casino, because something that casinos frown upon is actively sharing your faith in the workplace, just because it's kind of like shining a light on what they're doing, even if you're not condemning people. Like, I ended up getting a final written warning for writing a note to a coworker that even though he didn't believe in God, God still loved him, which is crazy that I got in trouble for telling someone God loves them. But he was a blatant, like, very outspoken atheist. Like, every chance he got, he'd say something about God. So it only seemed appropriate. But I knew I couldn't stay there. So I ended up leaving there to work for an armored transport company, delivering cash and other valuable stuff like that. Worked there for about 6 years, 6 out of the 9 years I was married. And then just this past June, late June, early July, I left there and started my own company called Shine Event Services. Mm-hmm. And awesome. And this company was birthed out of my love for music. 'Cause the Lord, as I said earlier, the Lord derailed my plans for being a band director like 2 years out of high school. The sound for my church for the past 10 years or so. Started at my previous church learning that, and then moving into my current church and running the sound. And I just had this love of music. And so it started off as initially, oh, let's do a DJ thing. But the Lord's like, no, you need to do more. And so I ended up buying a camera, and now, like, we offer DJ services, event planning still in the future because I'm not very good at planning events, and I kind of need an event planner nearby to help with that. So that is something that is in the future once we get our name out there. But we also offer photography through a third-party photographer, videography, which I do, and corporate AV, things of that nature, where we can just help make your event the event of your dreams at budget of your finances.
Well, that's amazing. I'd like to pause and just show your. So I am just grateful that you could jump on today and just share some with our audience today to get to know you a little bit better. And so I just want to end today with just sharing my thanks that you would come on and share your story, Tony, of hope, health, and healing in the world. So thank you very much for joining us.
Yeah, no problem. And thank you, Jill, for inviting me. And I look forward to any future chats.
All right. Well, thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day. Well, thanks so much for joining the Connection Show and getting to know Tony a little bit more. I hope you enjoyed the show. Thanks again for joining us on the Connection Show. We'd love to let you know about one event that's coming up soon to Branson, Missouri. It's called the Reawaken America with Clay Clark. And so they will be coming to Branson on November the 4th and the 5th. There's only 50 tickets left. So go to timetofreeamerica.com to get tickets now. Now, how do you get tickets? Here's the directions. You must follow these directions where you go to the website, you click on the request tickets, and text them, and someone will call you back. They call you back because they've had instances where bots try to buy the tickets. So they will call you back, but you must text them several times, and then they'll get back with you and give you the pricing online. Now, they will be going to Nashville in January, so you can buy tickets for Nashville for the event that will be January 20th to the 21st. For those of you who are experiencing the joy of fall, however, the temperatures are changing a bit, we thought we would invite you to an amazing getaway that will be taking place in February 5th through the 11th to Aruba. It's at a beautiful villa, and we still have some spots left. So I'm going to play this commercial and end here. So please consider Aruba, because it will be cold in February, and it's a great opportunity for a Valentine getaway. So thanks again for joining us, and we hope to see you in Branson, Nashville, and Aruba. Have a wonderful day. Thanks for joining the Connection Show. Join us for the Hope, Health, and Healing Aruba Connections Getaway for men and women. February 5th through the 11th, 2023. Are you overworked? Stressed out? Feeling exhausted? Is it time to spoil yourself? Breathe in life and relax at private villas in Aruba for 6 nights and 7 days. Renew your mind and body. Discover greater self-awareness. Join in connection, wellness, stillness, movement. Enhance inner peace. Experience amazing beaches. Enjoy snorkeling, area attractions, shopping till you drop. Dine at fabulous beachfront restaurants. Imagine releasing anxiety, reconnect with yourself, Restore your soul. Bring your friends. Enjoy fresh and savory cooked meals. Lasting memories. Join us now. Register today. Book your flight and getaway to Aruba, February 5th through the 11th, 2023. Register by going to braveheartworkshops.com. Pack now and see you on the island of Aruba.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial to bring you my BOGO extravaganza. For example, you get one of my Giza Dream bed sheets and you get a second set absolutely free. Or my 6-piece towel sets. Buy one set, get another one absolutely free. Or get my classic premium MyPillow and get another one absolutely free. So call the number on your screen or go to mypillow.com and use your promo code to get my buy one, get one free offers and get deep discounts on all MyPillow products.
Thanks for joining us today on The Connection Show, where we bring you stories that will transform your life. The Connection Show would appreciate your support. Please go to either our Patreon page or our PayPal Me Now link today. We love our podcast show guests and appreciate our listeners and YouTube subscribers. Please go to our YouTube channel called The Connection Show and Braveheart Workshops and subscribe now. Remember to click the gray bell in the All tab so you don't miss any upcoming episodes.